Well, hi everybody. Well, right now we're going to have a look at a break-even chart. It's a common management accounting topic that to some might often seem to be an oversimplification. Suffice it to say that it has to be used properly to truly understand various business models, and it portrays only the responses to figures, an illustration of the perceived situation. For example, most common interpretation is that it calculates the break-even point for sales less cost of sales covering overheads. That's okay as far as it goes, but if you go beyond the formula and think, if I have this level of overheads, then at this margin, this is how much I have to sell to cover the overhead. The variables now start to take on a new life. So you ask questions like, is there any hope of increasing sales? Is the margin adequate? What would be the effect of discounting or raising prices? You have to tie this to a market analysis before you get a whole new feeling for the model. Now let's have a look. This is all about Excel, and a picture says 1,000 words. So here we are, here's a picture, and here is the break-even chart that we are going to produce, and have a look and see how we've done it. A graph, of course, enables us to ask what-if questions. It has to be a succinct interpretation, and it has to give us a message. It's the message in any graph that's actually important. Anyway, there's our finished model, and here is our finished spreadsheet. Notice that we have up here we have our finished graph that we've just been looking at, but down below it I have an input area. That area there is our assumptions. We change a total here and it flows through to the graph. This area underneath is our data area. Now this is also a working area, because you see the total costs are the addition of the fixed costs plus the variable costs equal the total costs. So there is a little bit of calculation in there. And the output, of course, is the chart at the top. Now, how did we do this? Well, in a nutshell, we're using Excel, of course. We have to prep our data. Now, prepping the data is very important, and I'll be returning to that. Then we have to insert a graph and configure it. Then what I'm going to do in this presentation is I'm going to show you the Excel camera in a copy-paste picture operation, and you'll see why I did that. And then we're going to be able to format the picture. So, set up an input area that you can reference. Let's just have a look at Excel, and you see that here's a spreadsheet. Okay, looking at Excel, you can see that here I have a spreadsheet, and if I change the price there, it automatically will flow through to the break-even units. Just a small area can get pretty complicated at times. Okay, let's go back. So now, looking at our data, you can see this a bit more clearly. We've formed a table. We have number of units down the side. Total fixed cost is 120,000 a month. It doesn't change. That's why we call them fixed. Our variable costs, which from our previous slide you can see our cost is $12. So it's actually the number of units times the variable cost gives us the total variable costs. Add these two together and you can see here we've got 132,000, and the sales revenue at that number of units sold, oh dear, it's only 25,000. So I'm assuming that you can see at a half a glance that that's going to be a long way below the break even. When we're constructing a graph, first thing that I do is I highlight the data only. Here is my data, and I'm highlighting that area. Okay, and from then on I now come up to my ribbon, insert, and along here I have the charts, and when I click on line you can see that the first one at the top there is a line chart. Here's what Excel produces, and we'll have a look at that later. Here is our graph. Notice that along the bottom here we have these labels, which are just 1 to 21 in that case, and we'll do something about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click anywhere in the graph, and up comes this drop down menu and this little menu here. I'm going to click on select data, and up will come this window, and here I'm going to edit, and notice that 1 to whatever is down the side here. So when I click on the edit, up comes this window at the top, and you can see that this is highlighted. Let's go over back to Excel now. Okay, so I'm going to right click, up comes the drop down, select the data, and our window appears. Okay, come over here to edit and axis label range. Now I can either type in the range, or if I'm lazy like I am, here we go, I'm going to highlight that range, and now that axis labels have been put in to the bottom, and in my window there's the 1000 to 4000. Okay, so I've altered my axis labels. So if you want to break your neck, you can read those labels there. Okay, now next little trick is if I highlight, right click, and format the axis. So I have highlighted the labels, and I'm coming down to format the axis. In here, this format axis got a whole lot of options. If I come down to alignment, you see that there's a box that enables me to put in how many degrees. I'm going to put in sorry, not 60, it will go the other way. Okay, so I'm going to put in minus 60. There we are, that's what I want. So now I have those labels, and they're a little bit slanted. I could make them more slanted, just change that angle. Okay, so now let's go back to where are we? Okay, we've done that. Right. Now change our series labels. I notice here I have series down the side. Right. So what I'm going to go to do here is, this is our before, here is our after. Let's go and do it in Excel. Okay, so right click, by now you know I'm going to hit select data. So now I'm coming up to series 1. When I edit that, there we are, that looks familiar. Now what is this series here? Well, you see that it's from C33 to C53, so it's from there to there, and of course that's what's in the field below. So I'm going to call that according to that heading over here. Let's change that to fixed cost, what is in here. Alright, Now series 2, what is series 2? It's D, so D is total variable cost. Series 3, edit, and this is E, total costs, and series 4, edit, is F, and that's sales. Okay. Now notice that we have altered our labels. Okay. Now the legend on the side is often not convenient, so format the legend and we get this window and we can say top. There we have it. Right. Okay, now let's go back here. We're running ahead of our PowerPoint. Now notice here that we have total costs is on 2 lines, not 1. Go back to Excel, and if I wanted those to be double lined, I would say Alt Enter right there to put it on 2 lines. Okay. And fixed costs, I can do the same. That's Alt Enter, and there we are. Now this red line, I don't want it, it's in the way, so then I can just highlight that and delete it. I could go back and highlight it here, select the data. I could come up to total variable costs and I could remove it. So whichever way you want to do it. Alright, we have our legend up here. I'm going to move it. Well, our graph is taking shape. In here now I can highlight these labels and I can come out and I can change the font to 9, and the same at the bottom. I can actually change it here if I want. There we go. So I think that looks a little better. So there we're changing the font. Right, now I want a title, and of course there is a facility there, but what a lot of professionals don't tell you is that you can insert a text box. You can draw it and put in ABC Inc. into your text box, and then there we go. Now if I right click and format the shape and come down to line color and say no line, and I don't have a line behind my text box. Okay, so far so good. So we're looking at developing some individual styles. Okay, what I'm going to do now is select my graph. I'm going to make it the same size, right, as some cells. Okay, so now I come up here and I highlight the cells behind this, and you know what, I don't like that. I'm going to take it down there. Right. I just didn't see that row there is double sized, and I don't want to distort it. Okay, so I highlight the cells behind it. I do Control Copy, and I'm going to come up the top here, and I'm going to paste special right down the bottom, this last one. When I click it, it says linked picture. Okay, So now when that one was up there, see, anything I do down here is now linked. Now this is actually nice because I can come up here, select my picture, come down here and say format the picture, 3D format, choose the first bevel, and the fill color, I want a gradient fill. Right, okay, here's my picture duly formatted, and see, if I do something on the picture it doesn't happen. I have to come down here and format this shape, and this is my transparency on the fill, and let's have that completely transparent. Right. Okay, now I have formatted my picture just to give it an extra touch of professionalism. I have put in a text box in here from this area over here, and I'm now going to insert a shape, and let's see, I'm going to put that there, the back, and send to the back. Okay, now I'm going to format and do a gradient fill. Okay, 3D format, there we go. Well, there we are, voila, I now have my picture. Oh, lastly, this line that I drew down here, of course I actually drew it on here, so that line I drew with insert a shape, and I drew a line down there like that. And it is in my graph. So there we have our finished item. Another text box I put on here. We need to decrease overheads. Yeah, here's my source graph, and that should actually be up there. So there we go. So play with it and paste icon. There you get this picture. Notice the handles on the picture. You can bevel it. You end up with that. Put a shape behind it. And here is your finished application with your data, your input and your output. And there we have, there's the end. And let me know if you have any questions. This has been Cliff B, and a pleasure talking with you.